Okay, here goes video number 2. This is where things get real juicy. Let's just jump into, the deep stuff. I'm gonna give a little background. Also, disclaimer, there's some things I'm not gonna share because I feel like they're too TMI slash too special of experiences and sacred of experiences that I don't want to share those with the world. So there's that. First of all, let me just give a little background. So me and my husband, we got married in August of 2018. Wow, that's a long time ago. So it's almost been 2 years since we got married. When we got married, I was in my second year of grad school. We kind of were planning on not starting our family until I was done with grad school. That was the plan, but we also were like, if that's not what we're supposed to do, or if we feel like we should do something different, we were fine doing that too. But that was just kind of like what we initially thought was like, oh, that's a good time to start. I finished up grad school in May of 2019, so a year ago. We were kind of planning on starting family around a little after that. We didn't really know. Then we really felt like we should, and so we were like, okay, in September we're gonna start trying to have a family. I got pregnant super fast. I'm trying to remember all the details of everything, but I kind of didn't know if I'd get pregnant really easily or if it would take a while. I hoped that it wouldn't take that long, I was really super grateful, and I just kept having this feeling that's how it was supposed to be. When you have a kid, that's when you're supposed to have a kid, that there's really a plan, for our lives and how they're supposed to go. So I was like, okay, this is awesome, and I felt so grateful that we didn't have to try for that long or anything like that. So we were super excited. I remember we waited, and then we took the pregnancy test, and I remember just being in shock. What? I'm pregnant? And then I took another one. It still says positive, and it was is that real? And I was looking up all this information, and it said even if there's the faintest line, then you're pregnant. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm pregnant then. We were super excited. We went into the mode of we're gonna be parents. I called the next day and set up the first appointment, and that was so surreal, because they were okay, so you're gonna be due in June. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It was just crazy to to know the due date. That was crazy. I got this app that told me all about my baby developing, had a fun time just planning for the things that we would need, a car seat and a crib and all that stuff, and just planning all the fun things. And it was so exciting, and every time I went somewhere I just felt I had this big secret to keep because no one knew except me. Obviously I knew about miscarriage. I think everybody knows about miscarriage, but I don't think anyone thinks that it's gonna happen to them. I mean, there's members of my family who have had miscarriages. I knew it was a thing, but I never thought I would go through it. Now for the story of the miscarriage. I was 7 weeks along. This is so hard to remember because now that I've had 3, I'm which one? Where was I at? But I was 7 weeks along. I remember it was a Saturday. I just remember I kind of felt different that day. I don't even know how to describe it, but I just felt a little bit different. Later that afternoon, I started to have some spotting, and I freaked out, and I was just oh my gosh. And I was so scared. I was oh my goodness. But pretty much everything was it's not something to be concerned about. Most things were it can be a problem, but it's probably not. I was just please, do not, I don't want to go through this, We just kind of were okay, what's going on? Then the next day, the bleeding started getting a lot worse. It was awful. I was terrified. I called the doctor. It was a Sunday, and so there was a doctor on call, and she pretty much was well, if it's a miscarriage, we can't really do anything to stop it. So just wait till tomorrow and then call, and they can get you in for an ultrasound or blood work or whatever they want to do, but there's really nothing we can do to stop it. Can anyone help me? And the bleeding kind of stopped that night on Sunday night, and so I was okay, it's good. Then Monday morning I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was bleeding a ton, and I remember just going back to bed and telling Matt the baby's not okay. There's no way that this is okay. You can't bleed this much and it can be okay. I just cried the rest of the night. I'm trying to remember all the details. It's so hard to remember for each one. And that morning, on Monday morning, it was Monday the 11th of November, I called my OBGYN and I told them what was happening, and they said, okay, we want you to come in for an ultrasound. And I was like, okay. Matt went to class because he needed to go to class, and I was like, it's okay, like I'm not in that much pain right now, so like it's fine, I'll text you if it gets really bad. I was just here at my house by myself, and the pain just started getting so bad. It was literally the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I obviously had never experienced a miscarriage. And I was like looking up things like, how painful does it get? Is something else wrong? Like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, because it's like you literally have no clue what's going on, and it's just so painful. So Matt rushed home. The pain was unbearable. Then the miscarriage happened. It was awful. And I'm not going to tell details of this because it's like a very special experience, so I don't want to share it. It was so heartbreaking. After it happened, it was no more pain. Like, the pain was instantly gone. It was heartbreaking to know that like the pain was gone because there wasn't a baby there anymore, and like that I had miscarried our baby. Oh, it was so awful. I just remember we were just like didn't even know what to do. I was exhausted after that. It was literally like labor. Like, I've never been in labor because this was our first kid, but I'm sure it's what contractions feel like. It was so painful, so awful, so heartbreaking, because on top of all of that, you knew what was happening, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm just feeling sick. It was like, oh, I'm having a miscarriage. We called them and we're like, yeah, the miscarriage happened, and they were like, well, the doctor's gonna want to see her. So we went in to the doctor. It was a total miracle because there was no one else at the doctor's office, which I was terrified to go in there and just be in a room full of pregnant people when I had just lost my baby. We went back. The doctor came in. It was my first time actually meeting with this doctor. She was like, I'm so sorry that we had to meet under these circumstances. They just did like a pelvic exam. She was like talking to me about miscarriage and everything, and she was just like, miscarriage is really common. I wouldn't be concerned that you're not going to be able to like have kids or that this is going to happen again. And usually it happens because there's something wrong with the baby genetically. She said this is nature's way of making sure you have a healthy baby. And then she also told us like, you can try again to get pregnant as soon as you want. Like, there wasn't really a waiting period, really. She was pretty much like, you can try in a month. I think that like helped me. It was like a hope to hold on to, like, okay, it's not over now. I also got some blood drawn. They wanted to double check my HCG level to confirm that it was a miscarriage. So they did a blood draw that day, and then 2 days later, 48 hours later, I went in again, and they took some more blood. They just confirmed that the levels were going down, and that also like helps them confirm that it was a miscarriage. So I'll just also share some information about everything that happened after. Didn't really have any more cramping after the miscarriage had happened. I had some more bleeding. It stopped. Everything was just kind of like back to normal. Like, physically, I guess, it was back to normal. It was just like crazy how fast like your body changes from being pregnant to not being pregnant. Like, that. I remember waking up the next day and looking at my stomach, and there wasn't like a cute little bloated bump, because that's pretty much what it was, because I wasn't far enough along to have like a bump. Like, I knew there wasn't anything in there anymore, and I could tell a difference, and so that was really hard. Physically, I healed quickly. I feel like, I don't know if that's how it is for most people, but for me it was very quick healing physically. Emotionally, it didn't happen quickly, and what I've really come to realize is that I don't think it's ever something that you like fully move on from. I think I'll always have like emotions attached to this experience. I'll never forget it. I'm never gonna forget that this happened, and having a healthy baby will never change the fact that this happened. I think the main thing that I realized is that you can move forward, not move on, but move forward with the experiences that you've had. And it's like you keep them with you in your heart, and you keep moving forward in life. Yeah, the emotional side, it was rough. It is rough still. After this specific miscarriage, yeah, there was lots of crying, just at the most random moments when I just realized that like, oh, something that we had hoped of or dreamed of wasn't going to happen. Just realizing that the dreams we had weren't gonna happen right now for this baby specifically. I felt especially close to this baby, even though I only knew I was pregnant for like 2 weeks before I had a miscarriage. People might say like, you weren't a mom, you barely even knew you were pregnant. That's not true. And from the second you know you're pregnant, you just like, your whole world changes, and you just have all these hopes and dreams for this baby that you haven't even met. If people tell you that you're not a mom and you've gone through miscarriage or any sort of pregnancy loss, it's not true. You are a mom, and it is possible to feel close to that baby. I'm gonna do a video all about that because I have some strong feelings about that. It's just hard seeing people with babies, hearing other people that are pregnant, and just wondering, like, why do I have to go through this and other people don't? But at the same time, like, you don't want other people to ever have to experience it because you know how hard it is and how awful it is. It's more just like you're happy for other people and the happy things that they're experiencing, but you're like really sad for yourself at the same time, which I think it's totally okay. I had lots of moments where I felt guilty for the way I was feeling. I've just come to realize, like, everyone grieves in their own way. You can't feel bad for the way you're feeling. I just learned to allow myself to feel whatever feelings I need to feel at that moment. So if I feel super happy, like, I shouldn't feel guilty for feeling happy. Like, it's okay to feel happiness, and then if I feel really sad, that's okay too. If I need to cry, that's fine. If I want to laugh, that's okay too. So it's more just like that. There's hard times, there's good times, there's everything after you have a miscarriage, but don't lose hope. There really is happiness that comes after, even when you feel like everything you ever wanted isn't happening. And I can especially say that now that I've had multiple of this experience. It's gotten a little bit easier each time emotionally just because I've been on the other side of it. First time being on the other side of it is really hard. You really feel like you might never feel like yourself again. You might never be able to be happy again, but you really can be happy yet. That's the truth. Take it from someone who knows. You can be happy again. I hope that no one ever has to go through this and have these experiences, but the truth of it is that people do have to, and people are going to. I hope that if you are going through this, you can find hope in the small things that bring you hope, whatever that is, that you can have people that you can feel comfortable talking to about whatever you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing, and that you don't try and go through it alone, because that would be the worst thing that you could do for yourself. So just find someone who you feel comfortable talking to and share your experience. And really, I just hope that sharing my experience helps others know that I'm comfortable talking about my experience, so that if they ever go through it, that they can turn to me, I guess. So that's the story. Yeah, that's that. I never know how to end these. Bye. See ya.